So we've looked at one quantitative variable, summary statistics, and related graphs. So the most common graph for a quantitative variable is the histogram, and then we just have to decide on nice groups for that histogram. Common summary statistics are the mean and standard deviation, 5-number summary, and then we now have a technique for identifying when values in the data set are unusually higher than the majority or unusually lower than the majority. The spreadsheets have been designed so they look in a column for the data for each of the summary statistics. So we can copy this and just plug in other data into column A and reuse it. So for example, here I have the heights of students in a survey sorted by females. And all I had to do is copy this block of summary statistics in here. And since it's in the adjoining column, the adjacent column B, it'll just automatically calculate all the stats on A. Histogram does have to be rebuilt because we have to decide on the groupings. Males, same thing. Once I have the data, all I do is copy and paste the summary statistics from another sheet that I used, and I can work that out. Now, it's a little more complicated if you want to compare two at once. Then you might have data that has a designation with a categorical variable like female and the corresponding height of that female, and a category for, again, a certain male and the height of that male. And sometimes that data will come all mixed up given the way the data was collected. So here I have a male with 8 hours sleep, a male with 7.5, a female with 5.5, and so on. And extracting the summary statistics from that is a little bit harder on a spreadsheet. But there's a lot of statistical apps out there that will do that for you. And I just want to show you a couple of those, or one of those in particular. So on the videos and more, I linked to an app called StatKey. And StatKey has tools for different kinds of data. So we are doing descriptive statistics here, and we've played around with the one quantitative variable. I want to now look at one quantitative and one categorical variable. And what I can do is just grab, let's pick on the gender height data, all of the genders and heights for this group. And we can just copy and paste it into StatKey. So from StatKey, one quantitative, one categorical variable. I want to edit the existing data here and replace it with mine. Now here they have a checkbox that says data has a header row, confirm that your data has a header row or not. Mine does, so I leave that checked, choose OK. And what they'll do here is they'll create the summary statistics for me. They'll tell me how many females there were, how many males there were, overall count, and then the mean, standard deviation, 5-number summary for each group and the overall. I can get, and again, the nice thing about this is they have the dot plots where the scales line up. I can do histograms where the scales line up, and I can quickly get a box plot where the scales line up so I can compare those two. So I just want to try that again for another set of data. The hard part then is, well, what does this tell us about the two groups? So let's try the gender versus sleep. So it's a matter of just copying the data. And again, one column is the categorical variable. The other column is the quantitative variable. And from the one quantitative, one categorical, I can just edit the data. Paste mine in. Again, do you have a header row or not? I do. Okay. And again, I get all of the summary statistics, one column for each group, and an overall. And I can get a comparative histogram of the two and a comparative box plot of the two. So what do these tell me? For hours of sleep, it's a little more steady. The middle 50% of each group gets about the same amount of sleep, again, from 6 to 8 hours with a median, of 7. There's more extremes in the sleep for females, both not getting a low amount of sleep and a high amount of sleep, and one of the females is designated as an outlier. So StatKey also takes into account that IQR rule, making a cutoff at that 1.5 times the IQR, designating anything after that as an outlier. And there could be more than one dot out here depending on the data set. Males have no outliers. Fewer males get a lot of over 8 hours of sleep, but we have 25% of the males get less than 6 hours of sleep, from 4 to 6, whereas 25% of the females get from 3 to 6 hours sleep a night, according to the survey. So this just allows me to compare the two groups. As far as the heights are concerned, we can see that on average, males are a few inches taller than females. The middle 50% of males is around 70 to 70, 72 inches for that interquartile range there, whereas the middle 50% of females is from 63 to 67 inches in height. Again, this is a nice tool for comparing the two. On a spreadsheet, to do a similar thing, you would have to then have summary statistics, and you'd have to break them out, do one for the female, one for the male. So it just takes more time to compute each of these, where StatKey does them all at once. As far as the computation goes for a spreadsheet, you would have to designate where the females start, where they end, or where the first group starts, where the first group ends. So I found in mine that starting in row 2, I had females because they were sorted by gender, and then ending in row 171, and then the males pick up in row 172. And rather than identify the last value for the males, I just said the rest of column B is where you can search for the males. So here we're counting anything from row 172 onward. And if we look at the bottom of this list, we can see there's nothing under, row 230 is where the last male is, but the males start at 172. So again, you have to figure out where your groups start and end, and then you have to adjust the formulas correspondingly. So all the female calculations are from B2 to B171. All the male calculations are from B172 onward. So not bad on a spreadsheet. Takes a little bit of time to get each of those calculated. Then you have to set up histograms for each of them for comparison. Zoom out a little bit and see that's going to be a pretty similar histogram of what StatKey made. I have a little more control over the histogram in Excel, which I like. StatKey doesn't give me a lot of control in terms of, it gives me no control over labeling, really. So I like this a little bit better. All right, take care, do good math. I'll see you soon.